And dhana is grain. If someone could bring me the story of the seed. Huh? Jo kitab hai na, I'll show them the mandala. I'm not an agricultural scientist. I was trained in quantum theory, in physics. And I did a PhD on non-locality in quantum theory, that things are not separate as we were made to believe in Newtonian physics. Things are all interconnected. Yeah? I looked at agriculture because of true tragedies in India, long before you all were born. 1984. In Punjab, there was an eruption of violence, and Punjab is the place where a phrase called Green Revolution was first implemented. Now, this was about chemicals introduced to farming, and I said it was not green and it was not revolutionary because we don't need poisons in our agriculture. And these poisons came from war. The original chemicals made to kill people in concentration camps, to kill people in the war as poison gases, were, after the wars, deployed to be agri-chemicals. And we were told without chemical fertilizers, the soils can't be fertile. Without pesticides, you can't control pests. Without herbicides, you cannot control weeds. That same year, pesticide plant leaked in the city of Bhopal on the night of 2nd of December. And that leak killed 3,000 people immediately as this gas went through the town. 30,000 have died since then, and even today, hundreds of thousands are being born crippled. Poisons in our food. Yeah. So I'll carry on that story, but I want you to go away with this image of what is Navzani. Oh my God, I'm sure it's a wrong book. If I don't find it, I'll find it in another one. Then it's in Seed Keepers, Seed Freedom. It's in Seed Freedom. So I said, why are we using so many poisons in our food? And why did the Green Revolution get a Nobel Peace Prize when all it's left is ruins and war? So those days I was working for the United Nations University for a program on natural resource management and conflicts. So I did a study, it became a book called The Violence of the Green Revolution. And I made a commitment I was going to promote non-violent farming. As a result of my little bit of work, I started to get invited to conferences around the world on agriculture. And I would go to learn just like you're here for your science congress. That's when I came to know what's happening with the seed. I'll come to that after showing you some images. All these books are in the office, available for any of you. That was a spraying of endosulfan, a pesticide that left 1,000 people dead in Kerala. These are images of cancer patients who board a train called the cancer train from Punjab, which is supposed to have brought prosperity. All of them are cancer victims. And why do they go to Rajasthan? Because there's a free hospital for cancer treatment. These are images of children of Bhopal. These are children born today. Because these chemicals continue to cause damage, even for generations to come. Yeah? So the same companies that had brought us these chemicals were now saying, we got to own the seed. We've not made enough money. But how do we own the seed? They said, now that there are new tools of recombinant DNA to splice genes and move them across organisms, we can use these techniques of genetic engineering and pretend that we are making life. And now we will claim intellectual property. We will take patents on seed. And royalties from seed will be our biggest source of profits in the future. I was at a meeting where they laid this out in 1987. And they said, the European countries are too small, US is too small, we've got to do this globally. So we need a free trade agreement, which became the WTO at that time. Well, I was at the meeting. I said, no, Mr. Monsanto, no, Mr. Ciba-Geigy, you don't invent the seed. Life makes itself. Life is self-organized evolution at work all the time. That's what life is. I said, I do not accept patenting of seed. I do not accept defining seed as a machine invented by Monsanto. So I took a commitment at 6 seeds. I made a commitment I would give my life to fighting patents on seeds and patents on life. And also looking at GMOs in a scientific way. So I was appointed by the United Nations to look at impact of GMOs. I was part of the expert group that created the laws that are called the biosafety laws that look at the impact. You know, what does a GMO do when it's released? We now know 20 years later that GMOs and pesticides have nearly pushed pollinators and bees to extinction. Yeah? We know in India, even though we did not allow patenting of seed because I was involved in the writing of the laws of our country, Monsanto was collecting illegal royalties. And they've extracted more than 5,000 crores. By now you're familiar with crores and lakhs, right? I don't have to convert it into millions. You do the division. A lakh is 5 zeros and a crore is 7 zeros. So a crore is 10 million. 5,000 crores they've extracted from the Indian peasants. Now, Indian peasants are very tiny, very small. They don't have that kind of money. So what happened? They got into debt. And since 95, when all of these changes took place, 300,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide. So I've literally just come back a few days ago from a tribunal we organized in The Hague, where the International Criminal Court is. The tribunal was not in the criminal court, it was outside, but it was to influence the criminal court to recognize that there are new forms of injustice and criminality emerging. They're crimes against nature, which laws need to recognize. They're crimes against humanity. Usually, the criminal court tries, in Yugoslavia, there were all the ethnic conflicts, so it goes to the criminal court. But genocide is defined in the United Nations as the deliberate harm to a particular community. A deliberate harm. Now, when you know your royalties are going to leave peasants in debt, that indebted peasants will commit suicide, and you see it 1 year, you see it 2 years, you see it 3 years, then to continue to push these seeds and the royalty collection is a crime. So that's what we were defining. And we organized the most amazing public trial. And your generation has to carry on this work in every country. Also because today, sadly, those who sold the chemicals and those who are now pushing the GMOs and owning seed have been reduced to 3 giants. वो poison का तेल का लाएंगे, poison का तेल का poster. So during the war and the concentration camps, there were a handful of them that made these chemicals. Seeds were produced by every farmer. There were small companies all over the world. There were national companies everywhere. They started to get concentrated. Right now, 3 giants are emerging. Monsanto is merging with Bayer. Syngenta is merging with ChemChina, which is a chemical company of China. And Dow has merged with DuPont, which already bought up Union Carbide, which was responsible for Bhopal. So there's these posters we just did. This one is in Hindi, but we also have English. We call them the poison cartel. Yeah. That's the hat of IG Farben, the cartel that made the chemicals to kill in the concentration camps. Mobe was Monsanto and Bayer during the war. They've joined again. Syngenta, as I mentioned, joined with ChemChina. Bayer has joined with Monsanto. Dow, DuPont have become one. Now, do you all want an agriculture where poison makers push their poisons into our plates and onto our farms? No. So What we've done here over the last 30 years, I started Navdanya 30 years ago, and I think this book came, so I might be able to find this very beautiful mandala that communicates it all. And here it is, finally. So that mandala is 9 planets and seeds associated with each planet. After I started to save seeds, and after the peasants started to teach me, I realized that actually in every birth, every wedding, they do this to show the relationship between the universe, the planets, our farms, our land, the earth, and our bodies. That the health and balance of the entire cosmos is related to the way we take care of the earth. And the way we take care of the earth is related to how we take care of ourselves in terms of our health. 75% of planetary destruction today is because of that poison-based agriculture, which is also fossil fuel-based agriculture. 50% of the greenhouse gases causing climate change come from that form of farming. 75% of all contemporary disease, cancers, obesity, diabetes, neurological problems. 1 in 2 American kids will be autistic by the year 2025. It's 1 in 30 today. It used to be 1 in 100,000 20 years ago. Why do children become autistic? Because these poisons that go into the soil, go into your food, when they're in your food, when we eat it, the bacteria in our gut is damaged. We have 6 trillion cells in the human body. Only 600 million are human cells. The rest is bacteria. We are walking bacteria. And the bacteria are shaping us every minute. So when the beneficial bacteria are killed, they are the ones who make the enzymes that produce the neurotransmitters that make our brains function. So now scientists are calling the gut the second brain, because it's the gut that's making our brain. But it's the soil that's making our gut. So there's a continuum from the soil to the plants to our health. And that awareness is something we have to develop for both ecological responsibility and personal responsibility. So when you'll see the farm, you'll go to the seed bank, you will see how much we received and how little is growing in our fields today. 90% of the corn and soya that's grown is going to feed animals. I don't say feed animals, I say torture animals. The animals don't want grain. They want grass. They're happy when they're ranging free, not when they're in prisons. We are driving cars on grain. Quite clearly, people will starve. It's an inefficient system. When you think of how much energy you put into it, how much you get out of it. You put in 10, you get out 1. With factory farms, you put in 100, you get out 1. We're wasting the rest as pollution, as entropy, as the emissions into the atmosphere. So the hundreds of thousands of seeds that we've lost, Navdanya has rescued a few. This seed bank, you will see, has what we can grow in this climate. We have a similar one in Orissa, which can grow in the coastal climate with salt-tolerant rices, flood-tolerant rices. In dry areas, we have others. We've created 120 community seed banks because I did not accept the idea that Monsanto was the inventor of our seed and therefore the owner of our seed. For us, seed is a commons. It's a common heritage that we've received from our ancestors and from nature. So Navdanya now has trained more than 1 million farmers to go organic. Many come here. Our colleagues go to the different regions. We work in 25 states of India. Drona is here. He works to help you all, but he's from Bhutan. Yesterday we had a big team from Bhutan. We are helping Bhutan go 100% organic. Navdanya is helping Bhutan go 100% organic. And we hope each of you will go back to your countries with the message that there's only one way to produce food and only one kind of food we should be eating. which is poison-free. Poisons have no place in our food system. And so the simple pledge all our members take is a pledge that says we have received these seeds and this diversity from nature and our ancestors. We owe it to future generations to pass it on in the richness of diversity, to pass it on in the richness of nutrition and health. Because now we are producing nutritionally empty food that has nothing in terms of trace elements, micronutrients. And we owe it to future generation to pass it on, and we are basically custodians and caretakers. This is our pledge. So all of the work being done is really for future generations. But we hope the future generations will take this work on and say, I'm not going to eat poisons. So I'm going to be part of creating a poison-free food system wherever I am. We work with Chinese groups that are concerned about the same thing. Navdanya now has an international office in Florence, not because we are so well-to-do that we can open offices in Florence, but because all the government officers got laid off in the 2010 financial crisis, because the government shut down office after office. So all the colleagues who worked with me said, oh my gosh, but we want to work with you. I said, work and job are not the same. Job is something someone else gives you. Work is something you create for yourself. Interestingly, in the Middle Ages, or in the Industrial Revolution era, the word job meant someone who cheats you. Because they picked up young kids to send them into the mines. They picked up some kids to send them into the factories. So jobbing meant deceitful employment. Creative work is what we have to reclaim. And creative work means our minds, our hands, our hearts, all working in harmony to protect the earth, bring us meaning, create good for all of society, and that is the challenge you all have. Because this world of the future that's being created is basically saying no need for hands, chop them off, except one little finger with which you text message. Unless you do it with your thumb. No, why do you need your brain? Come on, outsource it to your smart gadget, right? Outsource.
Right.
Yeah, outsource work to China. Then outsource the work in China to robots. Yeah, so it goes on and on and on. Where's the place for humanity? Where's the place for creativity? Where's the base for quality? Where's the place for compassion? I want to end by sharing with you what His Holiness said when I celebrated his 60th birthday. I gave a talk. And then he scribbled for me this most amazing little thing. Maybe it's in this one. But he basically said, all beings are sentient. All beings have a right to happiness. None of us have a right to take that happiness away. That was his response to patenting. That was his response to genetic engineering. His response was from compassion. And you will see on this farm that when you work with nature with respect, when you realize every species has a place, the pollinators are doing their work, the spiders are doing their work, the earthworms are doing their work, our work is to be co-creators and co-producers with them. Then we have a wonderful work. We've done our bit. I've done it for 50 years, 30 years on seed saving. Your turn now. Enjoy your visit to the farm. Bye.